So, woo! Okay. Well, I have a story to tell, you know, like always. And except I didn't write it down because I'm not very smart, and I thought I'd be able to remember it. So if I forget, I'm sorry. And the story is about my mom. For those of you who know my mom, you know Judy. And for the rest of you who don't, let me tell you a little thing. My mom's slightly neurotic. And that's not an understatement. She's actually really neurotic. And she's terrified of flying, and she's an artist. And when I say she's an artist, I mean she's like an artist. She's like cray-cray, you know what I mean? And so this is just a little story about Judy and my life with her as my mother. The year, friends, is 2001. 9/11 just happened. It's December, you know, we're all kind of shaken up about it. I just turned 8, you know, it's a good year. And, you know, my dad, who knows my mom's terrified of flying and knows that 9/11 just happened and, you know, that happened with planes, and decides, you know, it would be a good idea if we all trek down to Florida for Christmas because that's what we do. And so it was my first time ever on a plane, ever like going through security and all that stuff, but I knew it would happen with the whole 911 issue, how terrorists got on the plane with like box cutters or whatever, and it was all bad. So I was like really nervous, and I had my mom's neurosis trait, and so that was not good. So we're going through security, and my mom is being my mother and asking really inappropriate questions, like going up to TSA and saying, "Were you the ones that let the terrorists on the plane?" As an 8-year-old, I knew this was inappropriate. TSA is perpetually unpleasant. I'm surprised we weren't locked in jail. They said no, it wasn't them. They blamed other people, which, you know, I would do it. So we're going through there. My mom has this giant art bag full of art stuff, and one of the things you have as an artist is a box cutter to cut things like canvas and things. And so my mom has this giant art bag that she kind of just dumped all this stuff in. Like you see a sneaker falling out and a blow dryer and like toothpaste, and you're like, okay, mom, whatever. And so she's putting that through security, and we get through there fine. I was amazed that we survived because TSA. And so we're waiting by our gate, and my mom is digging through her bag to try to find a comb because, you know, that's the best time to brush your hair is right before you get on a plane. No, seriously, that's not even a joke. Like, do it. It's gonna be hell if you don't. So she's going through her bag, and then, you know, with all like, drama, and she just digs deep and whips out, puts it above her head, this box cutter. You know, just like the ones the terrorists used to take over the plane. And she holds it above her head, and she screams to my father, who's like 10 feet away, "Yeah!" My dad looks over. "I have a box cutter!" Imagine, if you will, a man who's about 6'4", weighs 210, running in slow motion towards a woman who's really petite, 5'6", 120 tops, and tackling her. Yeah, my dad tackled my mom. Not pretty. Jumps on her and like karate chops the box cutter from her hand. It flies across the carpet. I'm sitting there like, "Dad, what's going on?" I'm 8 years old. My sister's 6. We're just sitting here. He's just like, "No!" Scrambles on the floor, guys, like, after the box cutter, and like picks it up. "You do not say that you have a box cutter in an airport!" Shoves it into the nearest trash can, turns to my mother, and he's like, "We almost went to jail. We're almost considered terrorists. I can't have my name on that list." I'm sitting there like, oh my God. Really, guys? And so my mom's sitting there like, "Well, what worries me, I don't want to get on the plane." My dad's like, "Why don't you want to get on the plane?" She's like, "I got a box cutter through security. If I could do it, who else, you know?" So then we have to wait another 30 minutes to calm my mother down because now she refuses to get on the plane. And so finally we did, and we get on the plane, and all is well. That's it. That's the box cutter story. So here's the moral of the story, guys. Don't trust the TSA because they're really not keeping you safe from people like my mom. And don't bring your art bag, and don't travel with an 8-year-old who doesn't know what's going on. want to tell another story. Let's do it. It's another Judy story and it has to do with planes, so I don't know, it all kind of is consistent. Okay, so we're going to France, and it's like our third time ever being on a plane. And you know, to get to France, you have to go over this thing. It's called the Atlantic Ocean, and it's kind of big, and there's a lot of water, and it was really dark. And there was terrible turbulence. And my mom, you've heard Judy's story. She's a little, you know. She's sitting there, and we go through this turbulence, and it's bad turbulence. We're going up and down, and my mom starts freaking out. She's gripping the seat, she's shaking, the bug eyes are out. And so all of a sudden, we have a big drop, and my mom, you know, sort of whispers, and by whispers I mean screams, "We're going down!" Oh my God! My dad leans away and he's like, then, you know, as my mother, you know, when you're going down in the plane, the best thing you can do is pray. So my mom breaks out the Our Father. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And so other people are starting to freak out. Because that's how chaos starts. One person freaks out and they're like, oh, this person knows something that the rest of us don't. We should do what they're doing. So then, you know, as most things go, the whole row starts praying. And then the row behind that row starts praying. And before you know it, there's a good chunk of the plane doing the Our Father just together. And the flight attendants are starting to freak out. They're like, oh my God, guys, we're not dying. Stop, stop. And so this is what they did. They brought out the pilot from the cockpit, which was like the worst idea ever because my mom's like, what are you doing out here? Are you supposed to be flying the plane? You're going to die. Obviously, you've given up hope. And so my mom's like, the pilot's like, shh. You're fine. And my mom's like, obviously we're not. You're out here. We're all going to die. And he's like, shh. You're fine. And then he tells the flight attendant to give my mom a glass of wine. But my mother being my mother, she says, I can't drink that. My dad asks, why can't you drink the wine? She says, well, if the plane is going down, I don't want to be drunk. I want to be able to put my life preserver on. I want to be able to put the thing over my head. God. And my dad's sitting there like, and he turns to us kids, and he's like, you know what, guys? And we're like, what, Dad? He's like, I'm not related to her. Or blood. Have fun with that. I gave him the evil eyes. I hid behind my sky mall. And contrary to my mother's belief, we actually arrived in Paris A-okay. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm still here. And we all kind of stared at my mom and we were like, Mom, next time, you better watch what you drink from now on because we're going to drug you before you come on. And from then on, my mother has been very, very good about keeping her cool because I think the last thing she wants, other than a plane crash, is being drugged while the plane is going down. So now she keeps all her prayers to herself, and she keeps the bug eyes in a lip. And that's Judy. And I love her dearly, but she's so entertaining. And that's all. That's it. Before we all leave, I want to say thank you to a couple of people who deserve thanking, like Mr. Clay, for making this all possible. All the teachers in Flash Mob, especially Mr. McDermott, who has been standing here and helping everyone move the microphones and being extremely helpful. I'd also like to thank Mr. McCready, who he's not here right now, but he also helps this, and he brought the water, so woo! That's the end. Thank you all for coming, and don't forget to throw your trash, and until next time, yeah.